Hello? Is today the Stunlock Day, chat? Get your masks on, Copium. Mage, thank you for the 49 months. Getting getting stun locked over a game that will never release. Stop. Are we gonna shred Overwatch again? I don't know, man. What do you even say? That's what dude, I've been sitting here. I went and I got water, used the bathroom, the classics that I do in my countdown before the stream Marino goes live, and I'm sitting here just like, but what the fuck am I gonna talk about Overwatch 2? What is there to even say? It's just it's funny. Read the dono. Oh shit, let me replay Spartans again.
Let's go, Seagull.
Why don't developers go with the Apex route and just not tell anyone about your new game until it's ready to release? Seems like it would avoid a lot of these disasters. If the game sucks, you just toss it and no one knows about it.
Weirdly enough, they kind of are doing that. If you really think about it, chat, do you know what Overwatch 2 is? Don't answer, it's a bait. A dream. Why is there such a long wait when the game is just a DLC for Overwatch 1? Because. Oh, God. Here we go, chat. Quick, link me. Here we go, okay? The chat. Stop, man. Dude, I haven't even, I barely said anything, and chat is just spamming Pepe laugh like the whole last like 2 minutes. What? The Stunlock time prediction? I wonder why. Is Overwatch 2 the new Cyberpunk?
Hello 2016 Genji time travelers. This is the wrong time period. OW2 isn't out yet. Please keep moving. Pepe laugh. Double right pointing triangles. Double right pointing triangles.
Chat, the crazy part is I'm still this invested in Overwatch on like a personal level that I want it to succeed that I haven't even played it this year because it has quite literally nothing new happening at any given point in time because it's just in hibernation, that I still pay this much attention, but I feel like the average person just does not care at all anymore, which is really sad. Tomato, thank you for 5 months. You played it this year? Okay, sorry. I played it, I think the day or two I came back to streaming, I probably played it a little bit. I played it probably a little bit this year, but we're talking like less than a week in total, I think. The last time I played Overwatch was a month ago, or a year ago, and I played it for a month straight when I had a really, really good meta at the time. It was actually really fun. And then they like tripled BAP's ult radius and then like buffed Orisa, and I didn't go back. Sleazy, thank you for 37 months. The October 2020. Yeah, exactly. Which do you think is closer to being done, PvE or PvP? My money is on PvE being done, but fixing PvP is a longer process. Man. That's a hard question. Because you don't know anything, and neither do I. I just want to know what they've been doing for the last 2 years. I mean, to even respond to the whole why is Overwatch delayed to 2023, most people even still fundamentally do not understand what Overwatch is, because Blizzard has been very hush hush about it, and it's really awkward now, the position they've been put into. I don't know. Pages, thank you for 6 months. How hard is it to copy and paste Overwatch to Overwatch 2? Well, that's what I mean, right? Because the meme, they've put themselves in this ridiculous box, which is, yeah, it is shade. It's fine. They put themselves in this ridiculous box that is, the general gaming community goes, what is Overwatch 2? BlizzCon 2019, 2 years ago. It's essentially just Archives Plus, right? And it was cool. And then the developers immediately following that, going in interviews, say like, yeah, we know this is just like, we didn't really want to show you that much. We're really, really early in the development process. Overwatch 2 PV is going to have a ton of progression systems. And we also want Overwatch 2 PV to have a full in-game. So that way someone can play PvE Overwatch as their main game if they want to. Which to me very much implies that they are creating sort of a competitor to Destiny, right? In the moment you think of Overwatch as that type of ambition and that scale of a video game, to be like, yeah, we really enjoyed the Overwatch IP and universe, and now we want to make a full PvE game in the Overwatch IP, dude, that's like 4 to 5 years of development immediately. Like that is also, that was Project Titan. Yeah, that we'll get to that. It makes it very awkward to think about a game in that scale, I guess, because how do you even think, like, how do you do that? And obviously maybe I'm thinking of, maybe I'm giving it too much of a scale. I'm comparing it to Destiny, but obviously like it wouldn't be anything like Destiny because it wouldn't have probably looting 1 trillion guns and this and that. That's not the point. The point is, if you're making an FPS game that has a full PvE in game, you're probably going to be competing against games like Destiny. And so the moment I heard about them talking about Overwatch 2 PvE in that circumstance, it starts to get really, really weird.
Even though I have never played how much, watching my streamer dominate in WoW is so refreshing with his 200 IQ plays and 5 head ults as compared to his Pepega level FOF blaming arties incompetent playthroughs.
What?
So streamer, we miss your WoW days. See Glove.
What do you mean in Pepega incompetent playthroughs?
Had it that every line of dialogue in Overwatch 2 had the word McCree in it.
Okay, Spartan. Thank you for the Dark Requiem. Thank you for the 5. I will say my playthroughs are incredible. All right. Very, very good. Okay. No, they are. They're incredible. I mean, look. Incredibly bad. It's toxic. No, you. You're incredibly bad. Fucking fuck. Oh god, dude. So I don't know, chat, man. You sit there and just, it's such a difficult conversation to have. The idea that Overwatch 2 was not released, sorry, announced 2 years ago, and then they have COVID, and then Jeff Kaplan and executive leadership starts to leave, and then the trillions of lawsuits and horrible things that have been coming out over the past year. It's not at all surprising that the development of Overwatch would ever be delayed by things like that.
Look at the size of that
but
thing.
It's time to move to Deep Rock Galactic. New update is tomorrow. More than Overwatch this entire year. Meow Rock and Stone Meow.
Okay, not wrong. Not wrong. And it's really disappointing to see how they've really shit the bed with Overwatch 1 in the past 5 years in terms of content updates and keeping the game relevant, because how this should be done, let's say this was a more normal situation of a developer who says, yeah, we want to go forth and make this really interesting PvE game. That should just be in parallel with the current game. The current game shouldn't just be like set off to sea, just be like, oh yeah, see you later, Overwatch 1, bye, as they as they sail off into the distance that should be regularly patched while they create other games. Especially, I feel so bad for the Overwatch streamers right now. I feel like they're probably dying right now. Oh, well, I mean, dude, they've been like that for years. They're probably dead inside and numb already, so I wouldn't worry about them too much. That's Blizzard. It's how they've always... Oh, fuck. No new hero for how long now? The last hero came out April, what was it? 2020. But no, well, Echo came out April 2020, but that was pushed back from BlizzCon 2019. The last character was supposed to be released BlizzCon 2019, and it got pushed back by a few months. It was normally scheduled for BlizzCon 2019. So if you think of it in terms of actual hero releases, chat, if you just... This is sort of like the baseline level of content I personally assume for Overwatch 2. If I expect to wait this long for a massive sequel, I would expect the same amount of characters and maps that I would have received if the game had been getting patched the entire time as a bare minimum. Which implies 10 new characters on launch, probably. Assuming that the game has been pushed to Q1 2023, right? We should expect at least 10 new characters. Big hit now, Copium. Well, what? Am I wrong? How many years has it been at that point? Them canceling online BlizzCon for February tells me that we're not going to see a new WoW expansion either. 2022 going to be... No, that's not true. They would have pushed back WoW. In that in that investor call, they have to like tell people if things are going to miss stuff like that just by the nature of regulations and stuff. They didn't talk about WoW, which means that WoW is still on track for that year, which is interesting.
I'm expecting some R2 content dropped early with the 2023 push. Maybe a hero and a map.
WoW brings them too much money, chat, in order to push back. So what's going to happen in WoW is actually they'll just cut content from the current expansion to make sure that the expansion for World of Warcraft goes out on time because they fell behind. They would rather just cut it back and then release the expansion early to like move on, basically, if the current expansion isn't well received, which is probably what they'll do. What is Overwatch 1 going to do for the next year plus? Just recycle content like they always do?
What is Seagull doing?
Well, yeah, it's an awkward spot because let's say you're Blizzard and you go, yeah, we're going to stop all content for Overwatch 1 while we go build Overwatch 2. Immediately, like a year and a half afterwards, COVID happens, and then all the shit internally comes out. Jeff Kaplan leaves, like a lot of executive leadership is leaving. Now you have to delay it even longer. Do you now double back and go, yeah, let's just take some of this Overwatch 2 content and put it in Overwatch 1? Is that even a good, like, I don't even know if that's a good idea. It's got to be such a weird situation.
I fucking hate Seagull.
That would be a disaster. Yeah, they should probably... What they should probably do instead is the only thing I can imagine, which would be much later. So what I would personally like to see is probably a series of events and or characters or this or that drops or lore drops, stuff like that, like 6 months prior to Overwatch 2's launch to start like feeding into and going into Overwatch 2. But in the meantime, I actually don't think they can easily like release content for Overwatch 1. Like they should probably, to double back now, it could be like a big mistake now I think about it. I don't know. It's weird. Overwatch League is still on Overwatch 2, so how would the pros even practice the game outside of scrims if there's no publicly available version with a ranked ladder? Well, what, okay. You should probably define the Overwatch 2 that pros will play on. Right? What? Okay, this is a whole nother discussion. Chat, the Overwatch 2 that like the pro players in Overwatch League played on was also not really Overwatch 2. They took Overwatch 2, the developer build they play internally, took all of the new characters out of it and gave it to the pros because they didn't want to show off everything early. And that just fed into all the memes online where everyone is just like, LOL, Overwatch 2 is a balance patch. They did that to themselves. I don't know what Blizzard was thinking when they allowed those players to just go into... It's so strange how it's all been handled. It's very, very weird. I just don't understand it. From the very beginning, I don't understand it. Because from the outside, what it feels like at the very beginning in 2019, the moment that BlizzCon announced that, yeah, we have Overwatch 2 and Jason Schreier's were leaks 6 months earlier were completely accurate, and that, yes, it was a very PvE focused Overwatch, I thought for sure they were just doing a full PvE game. I thought they didn't give a fuck about Overwatch PvP anymore, and they were just going to go all in on PvE because the casual player base for Overwatch was massive. Every event in Overwatch that have been historically the best were all PvE events. It makes them the most money. The IP is great. The engine can do it. All the developers were formerly making an FPS PvE game that got canned called Titan, and it's like, it seemed like it would fit. And then it's just been, they never actually told the public how committed they were, if that was actually accurate. And then now it's all weird. I don't know what it is anymore. And I am very curious, like, why they haven't actually just come out and say what it is. So I'm lost. Didn't they rehaul the engine for Overwatch 2 though? Well, I mean, they updated a lot of it, yeah. Overwatch 2 should just be a free PV update for Overwatch 1 at this point. Well, they can't do that. Like, polluted, thank you for the prime. It's really, really weird to think, I don't know. Do you think anyone will care about Overwatch 2 anymore when it comes out? Oh yeah, 100%. Blizzard's really good at having a hype train. The thing is, when Blizzard games come out, it's usually not if they're going to be good on release. It's will they maintain the updates and the content post-release to keep the game rolling, from my experience. Diablo 2 Resurrected Keck. Well, D2 Resurrected was actually really well done. Like, it had some server issues, but that was because they got way more players than they think they said they had like 400k concurrent players at one point, and a bunch of other stuff. And so it gets like, server issues in the game are two different things in my mind. If a server has problems and the server's down all the time on launch, I don't actually care that much.
Some of the best skins in the last year. Man, I only hope it isn't blocked by a $40 paywall. Pepe laugh.
Pepe laugh. Also, one sec. Someone said Andy B replied on the forums. See if I can blow this up so you guys can read it easier. News that a team is taking longer anticipated with the game is never easy, especially in a case where players have been eagerly anticipating any information about release, beta, etc. The forums, Reddit, social have all been a reflection of frustration I believe a lot of Overwatch players are feeling today, and that's okay. Well, yeah, the Overwatch players, they're all going to be super frustrated because they haven't seen updates for years, and then the one, like, holy grail in the far future gets pushed back even further, so... Jody, our new CM, you'll meet her eventually, and I have been spending the last day gathering feedback, and today we'll be summarizing and sending along to those who need to see it. While it's important that our team does everything in our power to meet the high expectations we all have for the Overwatch franchise, we also need to be aware of how it affects the community that's grown up around our game. In the meantime, I want you all to know that we understand what's happening on the forums. No, don't care about the BNet forums, Andy. While we still believe that this is the right thing to do for the team, the game, and ultimately the players, we get the emotions being shared today. One rumor to clear up, I'm seeing a lot of folks assuming a launch in 2023 is rote without being pedantic. I want to point out that there was no release date or beta date communicated in yesterday's earnings call. While I'm not prepared to discuss dates with you, I want to quash the rumor of a 2023 release date being somehow official. Oh God, does that mean he's implying 2024? Oh, no. God damn it. Obviously what Andy is saying is like, hey guys, we didn't even commit to 2022, so chill out. We're not even committing to any date, period. But how that reads is actually, yeah, we're not committing in 2023. It could be 2024 too, guys. Like, it's really funny. Fuck. What was the original post about? Oh, fuck. Do I even want to read an actual BNet forum poster? All right, one sec, chat. How do I even scroll to the top here? As a former apologist, I have lost hope. Remember this thread? I woke up this morning with a good feeling, all that drain when I noticed Overwatch 2 is not coming out till 2023. Doesn't that mean we have almost 4 years of no content, delay after delay? I'm pretty sure I was excited for Overwatch 2 release in 2020, which certainly wasn't the case. Wait, I actually thought the same thing. Wait. I remember this now. wait. Let me like go back now into my own personal predictions about Overwatch 2. So do you guys remember it was initially leaked by Jason Schreier mid 2019, like June or July 2019? It was leaked by Jason Schreier about Overwatch 2 being a thing. And then it was announced at BlizzCon 2019, right? And I remember being on stream with, I played Overwatch 2. I was one of the lucky few who played it. I specifically remember saying at that point on numerous occasions, guys, chat, there's no way that they aren't going to be targeting the new consoles coming out in late 2020. Guys, there's no way. It'll be like it just, if they can't hit that, then that'll be really sad. But if they can't hit the new consoles coming out, then they're going to have to push it back even further. And so I said, oh, well, you know, if they can't hit the new console release date, then they'll have to push it back at least, 6 to 8 months. So maybe, maybe we're looking at like, I don't know, perhaps, the following summer. And here we are. It was like, oh, fuck. It's summer 2020 is, come and go. Or 2021. I don't fucking remember now. It's just funny. But yeah, I think there's also, wait, I skipped a dono during all that. What was the meme?
Look at the size of that thing.
Streamer, it is widely believed the downfall of Overwatch started with your State of Overwatch video. Now Jeff is hunting you and probably hiding under your bed right now to CC you. Beware. Now I request you to give us a State of COD video cap.
State of COD. I remember I did, in fact, come out with a post about the state of Overwatch. Chat, that was 3 years ago. Wasn't it? Wasn't that end of 2018 the first video I did in that respect? I remember it because at the time it was GOATS meta and I was really upset and I was really pissed off about GOATS. So I stayed up all night one night just writing out that entire video because I was really just running on pure spite for GOATS. And I was just raging.
I fucking hate
then I just recorded, I uploaded, it got like 2.5 million views. I was like, what the fuck? That was 3 years ago? That was indeed 3 years ago. Speaking of 3 years ago, Dinosaur Wizard resub for 3 years. Thank you. Make another video? I mean, if I was going to do an Overwatch 2 video, it would have to be... There's a lot more to cover when it comes to Overwatch 2. Weirdly enough, because there's so many more fundamental, what I'll call just weird shit. Right? Why did they abandon Overwatch 1 for years to go build Overwatch 2? Why are we building Overwatch 2 as a fully PvE game? Is it ever okay to have a massive PvP audience and essentially abandon them for years to go work on what it was at the time, to me, I consider to be a mostly full PvE game? Now we're years later. Is there ever a plan to introduce more content into the current Overwatch? Probably not. How are you going to handle monetization? And just think about even just the more basic fundamental questions. In the long run, let's say you have a PvE game and a PvP game. How are you going to handle balance? How are you going to handle content updates? How are you going to handle post-launch content in any fashion? Are you going to actually make it free to play? Will it be monetized properly to incentivize you to update the game constantly? What's interesting actually in the investor calls, I think they specifically stated that part of the... I have to go look at that slide again. That slide was something along the lines of like to better prepare for post-launch content, blah, blah, blah. There's so many weird parts, when so many questions I have when it comes to Overwatch 2 that it's such an odd game to discuss, especially in stuff like this when we know that they've essentially publicly committed now that the game is obviously not coming in 2022. But it's like, just think about how weird it is, though, that how long ago was it now? 2 or 3 weeks ago, that the Overwatch League team went and said, guys, don't worry. Overwatch 2 will be played for the next season. We will be playing on the next, or we'll be playing the next season on Overwatch 2, right? How weird is that? To then double back and go, actually, Overwatch 2 is definitely not launching next year. That's so, like, what happened? Why even do that? And then on top of that, they've double committed to it now, because apparently they've doubled down and they said publicly, God, I gotta find this tweet again. They did say again that they will, in fact, be playing it even after this announcement. They are not double backing on it. They are actually committing to it. They're saying that, yes, it is the next season OWLs on Overwatch 2.
NGL, I'm impressed. When they announced it, I was expecting fall 2021, then CV19, and I went, yay, 2022 sounds about right. But this? Remember when Jeff shit talked Valve soon and Half-Life 3 and Valve released Half-Life Alyx within a couple years from that? Me neither. Pepe laugh.
Stop, dude. I do remember that. He did joke about that at the time. Wait, this isn't a meme because it's actually Liz tweeting it. Got an update from Overwatch League PR. What's cool is the next season of the Overwatch League will give the community a fantastic view into the development team's planned direction for the franchise before experiencing the content for themselves. Oh, man. That's not how that works. I think it'll actually just be people... Oh, no. Additionally, as we get closer to preseason, we'll have dates and locations to share. Oh, so, okay. They're probably trying to return... I know that's an Overwatch League thing. I don't care. They're just trying to go back to IRL events, but that's... Or more of them, anyway. But... Guys, isn't that just kind of weird? The idea that...
Let's go, Seagull.
I remember when I put out the State of Monkey Island video 20 years ago, there was an effort by the community to put goats on the island. It's amazing how things come full circle.
Spartan, thank you. Ruse, thank you. Fuzzy, thank you. Doesn't that just fuck the entire marketing for your video game? That you are sitting there and having people broadcast the game for like a year and show off apparently everything that's cool and new about your game before it ever comes out.
But to be honest, they can never achieve the excitement they had for R2 as they had OW1, as many content creators got fed up and moved on to more refreshing gratifying their own game to oblivion. There is an overall negative vibe.
Well, yeah, everybody, for the most part, left Overwatch because the game went downhill after Most people left in early 2018, late 2017 of like my generation of streamers because battle royales were getting more popular than Overwatch. And so it was just like peace. Also, what's up, Ryan? I guess I can't imagine how odd it's gonna feel. So like, okay, just really quick. All right. The first build that pros have already played in quote Overwatch 2 was not Overwatch 2. They specifically did not have any of the new characters. So does that mean that the pros will now be playing some scuffed degen build of Overwatch 2 where they go, yeah, we know we committed you guys to playing Overwatch 2, but like we don't want to show off all these new characters because that'll ruin the hype for our new game. So you guys just go play on the new engine in 5v5 with balance changes, and then we'll sit over here and like hoard all of the new characters. Isn't like, what the fuck is I don't understand. I'm very confused because they've already committed to the first
Al next year for sure for the 10/10 entertainment shit show.
Because they've already said that they already did have the pros play on what was literally a balance patch to Overwatch 1 in 5v5 mode, right? And they tried to sell that as Overwatch 2 to the general community, and the general community laughed at them. And the general gaming community looks at Overwatch 2 as, guys, why is this balance patch being shipped as a $40 game? Right. And that's not at all what it is, but they just keep shooting themselves in the foot over and over. And I'm just lost. I'm lost. I guess what I'm going to ask is, what kind of build is this apparent season of Overwatch League going to play on? Are they really going to sit there and go and show off all of the new characters? Are they really going to put in new characters constantly as they dev them into Overwatch League? Just think about how weird that must be as a player too. How are you can practice? I can do this or that. Who the fuck knows? I don't know. Also, Adam, I'm not a pro player anymore. I don't actually care that much about the Overwatch League impact onto like the pro scene or the pro players. I'm more concerned about the idea that you're kind of fucking up the marketing for your cool game that I really want to succeed by having this pro league where everyone gets to supposedly play Overwatch 2 for a year, but already you've set the precedent that you don't want to show off Overwatch 2's content in their Overwatch 2 playtests. It's weird. I don't know. I'm fucking lost. Even the initial commitment to having players show off what Overwatch 2 was, but not show off all the Overwatch 2 content, is just a giant shot in the foot when there were already memes coming out about Overwatch 2 just being a balance patch to Overwatch 1. That's just dumb. And they did it. And then they come back and they double down and they're like, yeah, it'll be really cool because they get to see what the planned direction of the franchise before they experience the content for themselves. But I don't know. I don't get it. I think people probably have more information than I have, because that's sort of how Overwatch League works. A lot of those team owners and stuff will have more information than I do for someone on the outside. And so maybe they actually have everything already internally figured out. They just know everything and I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Also, Xenia 2 at the 5. One sec, I was talking. Let me replay yours.
Look at the size of that thing.
Did some digging on Blizzard's job applications. Here's my personal favorites: senior software engineer, lead software engineer, technical artist, senior animator. I mean, at this point, the game will be released to an empty crowd. Pepe laugh.
I mean, let's be honest. Like, developers are always looking for more positions like that. You can't really. That doesn't really mean anything. Don Cafe, thank you for 9 months. It's because the only pieces of job applications, like the real juice from job applications and job listings, stuff like that, comes from like when they accidentally say like, oh yeah, we want, we're working on this unannounced title. I've seen this at different companies, not Blizzard, by the way, where they say stuff like, yeah, we're working on unannounced title, but can you please have FPS experience and also PV experience and also RPG experience? And I'm like, you know, what kind of game you making here? You know, you sit there and you're just looking at the job listing and it's like, yeah, we were working on this unannounced game, but you have to have FPS experience. Like, I wonder what kind of game they're working on. You know, you kind of put it together pretty fast, but it's kind of funny. Alana, yeah. Alana says recruitment at huge studios like Blizzard, they keep Rex open for literally everything because the bottleneck is in the number of applicants. It's the number who pass the interview process. They hire less than 2% applicants. Yeah. And that's another discussion in general about like people and the amount of developers teams have and stuff like that. Overwatch, when it first launched, was actually a very small team. Now it's much, much larger as they scaled up to work on Overwatch 2 and the scale of Overwatch 2 in general. From what I remember, Overwatch 1 had a core team of around 60 developers, like 60 to 80 in total, maybe a little more. It was less than 100. And then as they were working for, what's it called? As they scaled up production on Overwatch 2 and everything else, as far as I know, that number increased a lot. I could have sworn, I think Jeff Kaplan said at one point that they had over 200 or 300 people working on the Overwatch franchise after that. But I don't remember where I heard that. I have to actually go find and track that down again. But yeah, anyway, I don't know, man. It's strange. And transitioning from Titan to Overwatch 1, they cut the team down to 60 senior staff developers. They had more than 100 by the time the game launched, though. They're approaching 200 now. I think they have over 200 now. Like, easy. Just released Titan instead of Overwatch 2. Well, I think it's also really funny. There's a lot of really funny parallels here, right? You look at how Overwatch became a game, and it was Titan died. Titan was a PV FPS game. In that game, they shut it down, and then they created Overwatch. Overwatch was the fastest game they ever made. I remember hearing that multiple times. They spun it out of Titan really fast, like very, very, very fast. And then it's really funny years later to think they're now trying the remnants of that team. Like, obviously there's a lot of like the senior staff and stuff that worked on Titan back then are again trying to make a large scale PV FPS game. And it again is taking ages and ages. It's like some fucking monkey's paw full circle shit going on here. It's like Titan is coming back from the grave and just haunting us. The idea of this PV FPS that has now delayed everything for so long yet again. Even though it's not nearly the same ambition or scale or anything, it's just I don't know, it's just funny. Weird, but yeah. Seagull, do you think the campaign is finished yet? Okay, I find that exact question so weird. That type of question is to me the literal proof that no one okay. Let's say you're excited for a new World of Warcraft expansion. Do you think anyone goes, hey guys, do you think they finished the campaign for the new WoW expansion yet? Of course not. Like, they're all like, what the fuck does that mean? Right? It's weird. God, I keep saying that word. It's weird because there's so much weird shit going on in my brain right now. It's just strange. And so what I'm trying to describe is if you have what they've described as a full PvE game and they want to have a full end game and everything else, describing it as a campaign at all sounds like a giant bait. To me, it sounds like a giant bait.
What is Seagull doing?
Also, cue balls. Thank you. And I'm sure they are going to have like, you know, a story campaign and all that, but that's not the reason. This is not 2005. We live in 2021, right? No one at Blizzard is going to greenlight a project from just think about it this way. Do you think Activision, Blizzard as a company would greenlight a project where they go, all right, guys, we want to go make this really cool PvE game, but it's just a one-time campaign and that's it. And we're going to stop all updates for Overwatch 1 in the meantime to go make this PvE campaign. Of course not. That's the most ridiculous thing ever. That's not how any of this works, especially when they've literally come out and publicly said, yeah, we want this to be a fully replayable experience. We want to have an end game. We want aspirational content. We want people to be treating it as their main form of game for years. That's not a campaign. That's so much bigger than a basic campaign. That's why Bashi, no, I'm trying to, it's not about you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like shit on you as a person, like as an individual too. Or no. I'm trying to like get across this idea. It's so weird. Fuck, I need to stop saying that phrase. It's so weird. I can't believe Siegel's bullying that guy.
As an adult, I don't have that much time to grind games hour after hour. I want to come home, play for a half hour or so at a time, not play for a few days and be able to dive back in. It's why I loved Overwatch so much. Someone make me a game.
There's actually a lot of games like that now. There's a lot of games that are very casual friendly. Battle Royales? Let me think. Even the recent Guardians game that was just straight up campaign was good. ZQ says, I think a main problem with all this is that Overwatch 2 is being talked about as PvE plus PvP combined. Maybe the solution to all this is to minimally allow PvP to be played in 22 even as a beta. Then I think it's a full release for 2023. Does that not ruin the hype of the game? Imagine if, I don't know, does that not just, aren't you just cutting a game in half because it's coming out too slowly and then giving them one half and then you get the other half later? Doesn't that just make the whole thing shit? No one is hyped for Overwatch 2 as it is? Well, not right now. You guys are focusing on hype, but what we're trying to say is, chat, do you think cutting a game in half and releasing half it early and the other half later is a good idea? Isn't that just not a good idea? I avoided the word weird that time. Give myself a nice little pat on the shoulder. Are you talking about the same hype that made them create competitive Overwatch in the first place? Remember when it was only quick play? I remember early Overwatch was only quick play, and the developers came out and said, we think Overwatch is a team game and ranked should be 6v6 only, and you have to queue up as an entire team. In retrospect, the devs were kind of big brain, because solo queue Overwatch is certainly an experience. That's for sure.
Look at the size of that thing!
If they're going to neglect OW1, could they at least make the workshop a robust tool so the community can at least create meaningful content in the meantime? Stinky cheese.
There is a decent, I'm pretty sure they actually do a lot of good work with the workshop. The workshop community in Overwatch is very awesome. They're very, very good at what they do. And I think a lot of people probably, if I was playing a lot of Overwatch these days, I would probably spend a disgusting amount of time in workshop modes. Only one works on the workshop. Well, I remember, I don't know how many people work on the workshop. I do remember that there were 2 or 3 people. Then I think one of them went to like a new job somewhere else like a year or 2 ago. And then, yeah, the workshop people would know that more than me. It's one person. Okay. I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know. The workshop is pretty niche compared to what they're probably doing in the grand scheme of things.
Valorant 2 announced, no new agents or maps for 3 years. Don't worry though, we'll bunch them all up and release them at once when no one cares anymore. Cap.
Look at the size of that.
Yeah, I know.
technically streamer even are released as a multi-part games. There was quick play, then competitive, then all the added modes, then campaigns, etc.
What you guys are describing is a live service game, right? You guys, people have to actually remember how old Overwatch is as a video game when you talk about stuff like this. So, for example, Overwatch released, chat, in 2016. Battle Royales only started blowing up. The first Battle Royale that was really getting mainstream popular was PUBG in like mid 2017, chat. Over a year after Overwatch came out. Do you guys remember when PUBG was really big? Not DayZ, not H1Z1? No, most of those were not nearly. Okay, I used a very specific word, and there's going to be some really upset boomers in chat right now who are just like, I remember when I flipped my car in H1Z1. It's like, bro, H1Z1, those games are popular, but BRs came along. PUBG was way better than and way more popular than all of those games. And you can't prove me wrong because I'm old. And I remember I was there. All right. H1Z1 as a battle royale is fucking dead because it was dog shit compared to PUBG. And PUBG was dog shit compared to Fortnite. Okay, so Fortnite came along like 8 months later and just fucking yoinked their shit. All right. And what happened when Fortnite came out and PUBG and all those games got popular in late 2017, early 2018? Go look up articles about it, Chad. In early 2018, you will find there was a few different articles posted about the time about how Fortnite came up with the whole idea that, wow, we really, really want to have Battle Pass. We want to have nonstop content updates. And so there were articles that came out about how developers were doing like 80-hour crunch weeks and nonstop crunch. And they were just churning through developers constantly because they would just burn out and quit. They're like, fuck this, I'm out. The devs got fucked who worked on early Fortnite. They got absolutely destroyed. And so what happened after those games popularized and came out and Fortnite was so popular, coming out with so much content, is they set the new standard of content, which is every game that comes out afterwards, you better have a shit ton of live service, like nonstop elements in it. There were loads of live service games in 2016. Bro, I come from Team Fortress 2. TF2 was one of the first games that like pioneered games as a service. It back in like 2010. Dude, this is like one of the first games that went free to play, that went massive, and they were like, yeah, we're just gonna do a bunch of updates for free. I'm very aware of like lots of different games in that time period. But what I'm trying to say is it didn't, in the FPS genre, not that many that like Overwatch was not like that. That's what I'm trying to say. You got a lot of updates in Overwatch, but the monetization and how it worked, it did not get nearly as many updates, for example, as League of Legends, right? Because it's not a free-to-play game. It was basically like a fucking dinosaur. Yeah, it was old school in its peak. I don't know how to get this across. So what you're saying is if we want more Overwatch updates, it needs to be more predatorily monetized. Well, I'm not saying to make it a gotcha game.
On a scale of 1 to full Overwatch, how stunlocked is streamer right now?
Full Overwatch. Val Venice, thank you for 18 months. Guys, the Overwatch developers, even back then, in the 2016-2017 era, right? Sure, Overwatch like popularized. They made loot boxes a lot more popular, right? But Overwatch loot boxes are also probably the nicest loot boxes you can ever imagine in video games. Like you get like so many just by playing the game. You're guaranteed to get something new. Nothing like I don't know. You don't even have to spend money most of the time. And I don't know. But what I'm trying to get across is the industry, for the most part, over the last 5 to 6 years of games are now full live service video games. We want you to come out with nonstop seasonal updates. We want new characters, new maps. The battle royale genre made that expectation in my mind of that era, right? And so Overwatch, comparing to those video games, is a fucking dinosaur. Overwatch came out and was like, yeah, we're going to have some loot boxes so that way we can have some post-launch characters. And they did update the shit out of it, don't get me wrong. But the scale of it is never going to be quite as hardcore as other games because it's not free to play and it doesn't have the same model. That's what I'm trying to say. It was like, how do I put this? Jeff Kaplan even sort of iterated this himself in an interview talking about Overwatch 2, when I think he said something along the lines of, we were really excited to be jumping into the full live service cadence. He said something along those lines. I need to go find this interview again. This would have been probably around 20... It came out shortly after 2019 BlizzCon, so I want to say probably early 2020. And so obviously, like, Overwatch came out with a shit ton of updates, don't get me wrong, right? There was a lot, but Overwatch has never been updating at the same level as any other video game that you look at in the modern era. Overwatch would release one new character, like 3 characters a year with a few maps, and that's cool, but modern games do that, and then they make like entire marketing campaigns around them and absurd cosmetics and nonstop events and this and that. And that's because it wasn't a free-to-play game, which in many ways I actually respect them a lot, because as a sort of an old school player myself, as a fellow boomer, I respect the idea that a video game can come out and it doesn't need to be filled with like, oh yeah, dude, you need like a fucking battle pass, dude. You want a rotating shop? You want to get those cosmetics, little Timmy? Huh? You want the fucking battle pass? If you don't get this battle pass next 10 minutes, Timmy, the skin's going to disappear forever. You have that fear of missing out, buddy? Huh? You know, like, Overwatch was never like that. It was very, you know, they even had catch-up mechanics like with Overwatch cosmetics where, you know, the anniversary event or whatever was, you get like any skin in the game, right? And so Overwatch is a dinosaur, but also they never fell into any of those things. And it's very old school as a result, right? And it's a good and bad thing. They also never monetize characters, right? Like, new characters have come out for Overwatch and everything was always, you just get it because you bought the game and that was that. That was always really nice. They did a really, really good job.
In the era of BRs, where it comes down to you as to how well you perform, having games like our which is team dependent is very frustrating, added to the fact that many changes came about to make it player friendly but ended up diluting the ranked sys.
Requiem, I have no idea what we just said. But wait, let me we're on a different topic. We're on monetization. One sec. What I'm trying to get across is the point that Overwatch historically updates relatively slower than other games because it's kind of a dinosaur in its monetization model of you just buy the game and you just get everything for free outside of cosmetics, right? And so other games, they're like, yeah, we want to have a battle pass. We want to make sure new characters come out. You have to buy that shit. You know, we're going to have rotating shop cosmetics and this and that. And so it did update. Okay. I think if you're going to argue that even early Overwatch updated nearly as much as modern day Apex or Valorant as an example, I don't believe you. That's just not true. Even in 2016 was the only year Overwatch could be argued to come close. And that was because they did 3 different holiday events back to back. Even in 2017, 2018, when they were still constantly releasing and they went more in the normal mode, it was not nearly as much as how modern games do it, just because of how the monetization works. But the whole point is, as a boomer, I kind of respect it. The idea that I don't have to have a battle pass. I don't need to buy characters. I don't have all this other shit. But at the same time, it does come with its downsides, right? Which is why you have Overwatch 2. And that's why does the game not have as many updates over the years? Well, it's not a free to play game and you have all this shit in the middle. You don't have a battle pass, don't have all that stuff. What's the cost of that? They have to sell actual fucking Overwatch box sales. I'm gonna say box even though no one actually buys them physically anymore. Because it's a buy to play game. If you really wanted to see Overwatch succeed in the long term, what they probably should have done back in 2018 was go, okay, guys, we're going to make this a free to play game and just update it constantly and like add a battle pass, do all that shit. And they could have done that. But I think the developers at the time, I remember, when did I hear this? I could have sworn this was on the forums it was like mid 2017. Someone asked, I remember this question being asked. It was something along the lines of like, why can't we have dailies in Overwatch so that way we can get some more like coins or whatever the fuck they're called to buy skins, right? And they said something along the lines of like, we don't want to pressure you into playing anything just because you want to do like a random quest. We want you to do whatever the fuck you want to do, right? And so I don't know, the devs I think were very purist in that regard. Question marks. You'd have to go look at the, I'm trying to remember, keep in mind, I'm trying to remember like a forum post from 3 or 4 years ago of like how that worked back in the day. But they added timed events. If you, okay, look at now, chat, how those events work in current Overwatch. They have timed events for cosmetics, right? Go look. The only thing it asks is you just win a game. It's nothing. It's literally nothing other than go win a game. It doesn't say go play a character. It doesn't say anything. It just says go win a game. That's it. Even in those, they're super basic. It's a Pablo. They were 17 months. You don't even have to win anymore now. It's only to play the game. Wait, what? Oh, well, that's even more hardcore, I guess. I didn't expect that. I haven't actually played Overwatch much this year, so I have no idea. You get 1 point for playing, 2 points for a win. Oh, that's cool. I like that, actually. So that way winning makes it faster? Yeah, I'm okay with that. I like that change. It's cool.
Look at the size of that thing.
How good will Overwatch skin sell? Remember the Pink Mercy skin for $15? One Xbox code for that skin was sold for $1,100 on eBay.
Wow. What the fuck? Ham Sammy, thank you for 3 months. It's kind of intense. Probably true. Definitely probably is true. Pink Mercy is for charity, though. You can't get it anymore. I'm trying to remember. I don't even remember if I did that event on this. No idea. Don't remember. I disagree with the take that money / monetization was the issue. They decided to stop updating the game long before loot box sales died down. Let me think. There were articles coming out around that time, 2016, 2017, that they had made over $1 billion from microtransactions in Overwatch. In 2017. Let me look at this. Overwatch. Where was this? Yeah, I remember this article. Overwatch has now made over $1 billion from in-game purchases alone, the 6th IP in Activision Blizzard's library to do so. Yeah, that's like I said, loot boxes are pretty big. So I can, and that was published 2019. But yeah, I generally agree with what you said of what would you consider to be the slowing down of content? If I think of peak Overwatch content, right? I think 2016.
I fucking hate Seagull.
In the first year of Overwatch's launch, they did an obscene amount of fresh holiday events. Those plus all of the characters they were adding back to back, plus the holiday events, meant that everything was very fresh. And then in future years, they cut it back to the normal ones of just, what was it, 3 characters per year, and then like 3 maps. Also, damn, for 6 years. Thank you. Archives. Oh, no, yeah, you're right. And then they started doing archives the next year, I think. Didn't they drop the 2016 Summer Games in without any marketing either?
Look at the size
I
of
think
that
so.
thing.
Bloons is better than Overwatch ever was. Ignore Overwatch. Bot Bloons. Meow.
Fuck, that was so long ago. Well, the real tragedy here, chat, is I'm trying to remember updates and when they were added, but don't worry, guys. You just have to load up the game and it'll be the same event as it was 6 years ago. Fuck. Right? Like, they're remixed. They have actual modifiers and stuff on them, but at their core, they are still, you know, you're still gonna go play Lucille Ball, dude. You're still gonna go do this or that. And so I think when people see that, they didn't even add new modifiers this year. Wait, they didn't? That's even worse. No? Developers said people don't play the event mode, so they stopped doing new stuff. Wait, can you link me? I don't believe that. I don't believe they said that. But so when Overwatch, for example,
Look at the size
does
of that thing.
Would having a scaling system for the characters as they keep playing a match like the LOL leveling up system make it more dynamic and breathe life into the existing one, as the present one has become stale to even watch?
Bro, what? No, it just needs new content. That's all. If so, the king the king of any game, chat, is just content. And so if okay, I need to backtrack here. Back to the holiday thing. Do you guys remember last year when they had the new Halloween events? What time was this? I want to say, I think it was last year. They had a bunch of modifiers on Junkenstein. Quote new. No, they had those were new modifiers on Junkenstein. Not really. They had 3 different modifiers. I remember one of them. One of them was, interestingly enough, a WoW mechanic that was added to Shadowlands immediately afterwards, which was a new affix for Mythic Plus. If anyone actually does that, and like probably only the actual WoW players in chat will know what I'm talking about. And so basically one of the modifiers was ghosts spawn and chase you, and if they hit you, they do AoE damage. And it was very, very similar to Spiteful from WoW, a new affix that was added in Shadowlands. And anyway, there's a lot of always cross-pollination when it comes from Overwatch to other games, or all Blizzard games, because all the devs talk to each other. And so that was sort of like Overwatch's version of Spiteful, I think. But regardless, they do usually do testing, I think, of Overwatch 2 stuff in those events, which is why I considered it interesting that you guys said they didn't even bother with modifiers this year, because they used to just do tweaks, or and last year anyway, they did some fun stuff like that, which to me felt like very clear, right? Very clear modifiers of Overwatch 2 missions. So for example, if you had Overwatch 2 events or random missions or this or that, the most basic thing in the world would be, hey, let's just add modifiers to this to make it either more or less difficult, or see if it's fun. And so that would be the testing ground for that. Maybe they're done adding this stuff PV. There's no way, Cactus. If they delay an entire year, I'd be surprised. There are 6 mods this time, but those are from last year. Modifiers don't make Destiny content fun. Okay, well, modifiers are always going to be kind of not fun. The whole point, I think, of a modifier is to make you play differently, and hopefully it's still enjoyable. Like, as a player, I don't think you're going to like a lot of the modifiers. And so in Destiny, The Destiny modifiers are just weird in general. I'd have to actually go look at what they're like again. I did GM Nightfalls one season. I barely even remember them. Are we even sure Overwatch 2 is still PvE? Have we heard any updates on PvE? The reason why I still believe in the core interview from post BlizzCon about how the developers continuously talked about that. So the devs always said repeatedly over and over after that, like, yes, we want a full PvE in game. We want a full PvE mode. We want people to play this repeatedly for years. We want aspirational content. You know, like at first, I thought they were going to double back on that. I thought they were going to be like, wow, that is way too much of a scale. Immediately tone that down, go back to PvP and just ship it out the door as fast as possible because Overwatch 1 is dying and this is taking too much time. Instead, they said, we're going to delay this another year, which if you actually think about the grand scheme of things, and I don't know if I really talked about the impact of delays in general, but in my opinion, it is a very, very good sign that Overwatch doesn't delay for the Cyberpunk of delay, where they go, we're just going to delay for like 3 months, and then another 3 months, and then another 3 months, and then another 3 months. Because the 3-month delays that you see very commonly in video games for games like, oh yeah, you guys remember when New World delayed? I remember. How do you guys think that game's doing? No bugs, right? It's fine. The 3-month delays are to make a game playable. They're not actually to fix core issues, right? And so the core issues of games are much bigger problems that you can't solve in like 2 months, right? Those types of delays, when they say, oh yeah, we're delaying this by a couple months, we have multiple game-breaking bugs or just general polish that we just need to do for the next month and a half to make this way better. When you delay for a year, that's to make the actual game good. That's my opinion. You don't delay for a year unless you want to make something way better. Then, like, that's a long fucking time. Like the last 2-week delay of Cyberpunk. I mean, have they said they're delaying for a year? So let me be clear. The reason I say they're delaying for a year is because I personally believe the only reason they would tell the Overwatch League teams to commit to Overwatch 2, it makes the most sense to me that if you were going to, just thinking about it from the developer's POV chat, it makes the most sense to me that if you were going to say Overwatch League next season is on Overwatch 2, you would also do beta events around that time period, right? Think about it this way. In a perfect world, you would go, hey guys, the next season of Overwatch League's on Overwatch 2. We're also going to have 2 beta weekends leading up to the launch of Overwatch League, and a beta weekend, or 2 beta weekends coinciding with the launch, and then like a beta week or 2 afterwards, right? And during that entire time period, if you were actually marketing everything properly during that, you'd probably have it set up because they want to min-max viewership, being like, yeah, if you guys go watch these streamers and or Overwatch League, you get a beta key to go play this beta weekend. That's been the meta for quite a while now for games in general. And that made sense when I thought that Overwatch 2 would be potentially releasing late 2022, right? Because you could do an Overwatch League launch, have beta weekends and everything else, and then like a few weeks in, drop the game. That'd be sick, right? But now they've committed in the financial reports that it's not coming out in 2022, so it's kind of weird. We'll see. If I recall correctly, they didn't give any specific dates. We know that over the next season, Overwatch League would then launch in late April, historically, I think. Unfortunately, there are no dates for anything with Blizzard. In fact, you don't even know what the game is with Blizzard still. I'm basing all of my thoughts on the game from interviews with developers that were barely even publicized back in 2019 and early 2020. They haven't said a word about PvE other than showing talent trees in the developer stream from earlier this year, right? What are you going to do? We're all just speculating to a large extent, right? You're never going to know everything. So Wood, thank you for 4 months. Tyler, thank you for 4 years. And whatever minor exposure we had BlizzCon 2019. Yeah. Schreier is pretty solid. It's not 2022 and he doesn't overstep on sourcing. Quag, the reason, you'd have to link it again, but Quag, the reason why people were kind of memeing about dates is because then a developer post came out from the community manager who was like, well, just so you guys know, we didn't have an official date on 2022 being pushed 2023. And everybody started immediately memeing that, oh, that means it's coming out 2024. So, you know, hey, they haven't even committed 2023, guys. So it could be even longer. You don't know. No one knows. Do you think the Witch Queen's 5 month delay will be a big impact for improvement? Well, Destiny actually very commonly delays stuff like that. I don't have anything to say on like Bungie releasing delays. I'm just talking historically for most games. I'd have to actually go and play more Destiny to know anything. Destiny's also taking content out, Sag. It's always weird because on the internet, there's a lot of rage baiting. And so I would guarantee the vast, vast majority of people who were getting really upset at Destiny taking content out have quite literally never opened those forms of content in like 4 years. And so a lot of it is just people are upset because not because they actively played it themselves, but because new players would not be able to experience the content they themselves experienced years ago. Final Fantasy, for example, is a game that does this very, very well. I can play Final Fantasy 14 and I can go play through the story that was released 3 or 4 years ago, and it's just as fucking cool as it is then, like right now. Other games don't do that very well. Destiny doesn't do that very well. World of Warcraft doesn't do that very well. That's sort of like the history of a grindy game, I guess. But I can understand being upset that content gets removed because new players won't have that experience as you. And I can also understand the idea that, you know, oh, I bought this game 3 years ago and now I can't even play the stuff I bought back then. Right? Stuff like that's weird. But also it's the nature of a live service game. So I don't know. They vaulted the content to update it in the background because the old engine was inefficient. Yeah, as far as I know, they're actually doing it for technical reasons too. That's what I remember. That's all Destiny stuff. It's okay. New players in Overwatch get the same content. Stop. Fuck. That's a good one. Holy shit. Fuck. Woo. Do you think there's any chance the player base sticks around until 2023? Guys, do you think the player base is stuck around until now? Even now, the game is pretty fucking dead. No offense to anybody who plays the game regularly and everything, but for me, the vast majority of my friends, and I say this as someone who's played the game since it came out and was hyped for it for years. It literally built my entire streaming career and life. I will always have great hopes in that game, but that game is pretty fucking dead right now. Any game that hasn't come out with content in that long will just naturally hemorrhage players over time. That's just how it works. How games work in the current year for me and my friends are pretty... I don't know how it works for other people. I'll say it for me. Unless you're really getting addicted to a game, getting super into like the hardcore scene, trying to go competitive or pro or this or that, the vast majority of time, how games work these days is a game has a new update, you go play it for a couple weeks. And then another game has a new update, so you go play it for a couple weeks. And you rotate between all the games having updates. And then you have your sort of foundation of games that you play when there's nothing really interesting going on. And so when there's games that have nothing really interesting going on, that foundation, whatchamacallit, for me is usually stuff like grindy games. So stuff like Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, etc. And then FPS games, if I'm feeling like clicking on heads, Overwatch historically has been that, as well as Apex and other games. Also balloons. Yeah, sure. Balloons. Fucking balloons, dude. And I think that's how most people do it these days, to be honest. That's how me and my friends do it. I don't know how other people do it, but to me, that's how I treat games now. And so naturally, when you have a game like Overwatch that is very clearly in hibernation, everyone knows nothing in Overwatch is coming out until Overwatch 2. Of course, no one's really, you don't have like the draw of, wow, there's this really cool like new character coming out. You want to go try it out? Oh yeah. Then you go play it for a couple weeks, or sorry, a couple days rather. I don't know why I keep saying weeks. And you go, wow, this game is a lot better than I thought. And then you get addicted to it for a while. You don't have the draw, I guess, to keep people around as much. And less people over time come back to Overwatch as like the foundational game they play with their friends, because nothing is different than the last time they played. And I'm a victim of this too, because I played Overwatch every day on stream for like 4 years. I can't imagine. I think it was seriously like 3 or 4 years. And this year I've played Overwatch like maybe 1 or 2 weeks. Just because I know when I log on to play Overwatch, it will be literally the same exact thing that I played the year prior, with maybe some meta changes, and that's it. And so as games get more and more stale, that's just how it is. What do you think about the Steam info showing that TF2 still has 85 to 100k active players per day? That's not true. Like, most of those are not even players. They're bots. There's a difference. There are sites that show, because TF2 has so many bots, there are sites that show and compile the amount of players that are actually in game at any point in time. And it's usually like 10,000. And it peaks at like 20,000 players. So the vast majority of those are not real. But there's probably, yeah, I agree. There's probably some players who are just AFK in menus and stuff. Sure. But also cast, think of it, 3.5 months. Why do I know that, LOL? Because I played Team Fortress 2 for like 8 years. I played it nonstop. And so I remember this discussion was a thing in the TF2 community. Someone can link if someone goes and Googles around, you can find this site that actually compiles the real player count. I just forget what it was called. Teamwork TF Community Statistics. Is it on Teamwork TF? But I don't know. The active player base has actually grown since Overwatch early enough. Well, also the Team Fortress 2 community, and I will say this, by the way, there is something genuinely really funny. Like on a stupid level for me, on a personal level, just the idea that I got really addicted to TF2 for 7 years. In that game, Valve had like 2 people in like a basement working on it for funsies, and they did whatever they wanted. And the new interns would go and they work on TF2, and the in general impression of Valve on TF2 at the time was basically like, yeah, you're new here, yeah, go work on that game, you can't fuck it up, it's fine. And then they just go get shoved in and they do some random stuff before they go work on Dota or Steam. And then after that, I go, oh my god, Overwatch is making a fast-paced FPS, like a fast-paced, class-based first-person shooter. Dude, this is sick. It's Blizzard. It's gonna be great. This is 2016. And I'm like, oh my god. And I play it for 5 years, and the same fucking, it's like, I know they're working on Overwatch 2, so it's not true. But on the personal level, it's really funny to think like, no updates for 3 years? Been here before. Like, yep, been there before. I know exactly. Yep, I've been. It feels like home. Like, oh god, dude. Been there, done that. Deja vu, a little bit. It's not true though, because I do know that they are working on Overwatch 2. But Overwatch 2 may just be a dream. It may, 2023. You never know, man. Overwatch 2 is real. It's just an illusion, chat. It's out there somewhere. Do you know? No, it's out there, chat. Somewhere out there. Overwatch 2 is real. It's like the light at the end of the tunnel. In the Overwatch players, I just imagine Flats, like the Reinhardt, right? There's like a tunnel, and Flats is just charging through the tunnel. And then he's like trying to reach Overwatch 2, like the beacon of light. But the beacon of light just keeps moving further and further away. He's like, ugh! That's how I imagine Flats, dude. Oh, God, I'm sorry. I fucking love Flats. The light blur shifts away. Yeah, man, he's just toughing it out. It's why I'm very fortunate to, like, I played Overwatch for like 6 years or something, and I may be literally like 10% of the size I used to be back in the day. But at least I am fortunate enough to not be relying on it and have to suffer through that, I guess, very unfortunate down period. Basically, the word is the new Apex map and guns are amazing, but the audio got worse. There's no way the audio got worse. That's impossible. I don't want to hear it. It is worse? No, there's no way. You won't hear it. It did get worse? Wait, what? Oh, wait, did I make an actual unintended pun? Holy fuck. All right, my unconscious right now is big braining, and I didn't even know I was doing it. Wait, I saw a really good one up top. What was it? Someone asked me if I was going to play Lost Ark. I will not play Lost Ark on stream. Pretty sure. Unless I get really addicted. But that's because there's too many other things to play. So Lost Ark beta lasts for 1 week, and there's the new Deep Rock Galactic and the new Apex update to play. And no offense, but watching someone play an MMO like Lost Ark is really, really fucking boring. Is the Stunlock ending? Pause, champ. Not sure if you've addressed this. What are your thoughts on games being developed on older engines like Overwatch 2? Wait. Is it really old, though? I would actually say Overwatch on a technical level is the most optimized FPS game of all time. I am confident enough to say that. And it's also being updated for Overwatch 2 as well. The engine. CSGO, I believe it is more optimized than Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike is an older engine, and it looks like shit compared to Overwatch. The reason I say it's the most optimized is because it has extraordinarily high minimum frame rates, which is really interesting that not other games really optimize for. So by that, I mean, let's say you are an Overwatch player and you want to try and get 350 FPS in any fight, no matter what. 350 FPS, never drop under. That's actually possible with current hardware. You could do that, which is not a thing. And to give fucking, for comparison, just go look at, okay. To give you an example of how optimized Overwatch is, okay? When Echo was released, the developers came out and said the reason why you as a player, if someone copies you as an Echo, you cannot change characters is because then there could potentially be one extra character than there would be normally. So that would be like the 13th character, and that would break consoles. That one extra character. That is how min-maxed Overwatch optimization is. They talked about this. It was like an actual technical problem they had to solve with the limitations they were building, which is why you had to very specifically like handle it. Bricking consoles? Well, no, not actually breaking. You know what I mean? Like, I'd have to go look for the interview again. I'm trying to talk about how like they were hitting the limit. That's all I'm saying. Meanwhile, in Apex, your frames drop when you swap weapons. Well, yeah. What I'm trying to say is the idea of that's actually just spaghetti code. Wait, what are you guys saying right now? It could very easily be a memory limit. What I'm trying to describe to you is the ability to min-max, to hit the performance targets that they're hitting. That's how optimized Overwatch is. Cactus literally says in chat, it is a memory limit. And so as a result, that's how min-maxed Overwatch is as a game, to be that well optimized, that I can actually go in game as an FPS player and say, I don't want to drop below 300 FPS ever, and it will never happen. Even if there are 15 ults on screen, anything going on, that is very specifically, I will never drop below 300. But in Apex, pro players in professional settings with even like 10 players on the screen will drop to 120 FPS on the best hardware, right? That's just because it's a BR, I guess. I don't know. But even Valorant, if you give an idea of Valorant, right? Guys, there was recently drama in the Valorant scene a few weeks ago at, what was it? There was an LA event that was canceled due to one of the players got COVID, so it had to be shut down. But before the COVID shut it down, there was drama because they were playing on game or PCs that were meant for League of Legends, and so they were only getting like 120 FPS. And they were, and all the pros were raging because it meant that if the frames, like if like a fucking Viper ult went off, shit would just tank. LCQ Pepe laugh? Yeah. It would just tank. And this is on Valorant. And so they like, I don't know. I'm just saying that Overwatch does a really, really good job. That's all. They were benchmarked for 140 FPS. Okay, I'm sorry I said the wrong number, but you know what I mean though. I hope. Right? The idea that it's still not. Valorant looks like a fucking toaster game, and even they have massive FPS drops. They didn't actually have COVID. They used the shitty quick test. They had positive and they used the real 10-minute and then they were negative. Oh God. Let's not respond to this. Actually, I will. Guys, a quick COVID test has very high false negatives, but very little false positives. If you're tested positive, you probably have it. If you test negative, there's a chance you still have it. Does that make sense? That's all I'm going to say. Doom on max settings is way more optimized than Overwatch on max settings, and Doom has so much more going on. Doom is a single player game, and also...
What is Seagull doing?
I don't believe you. Nakamura, thank you for 14 months. Pros are insanely spoiled. I mean, we're just talking hardware at this point. Okay, what else? Seagull, don't forget we forgot that you still haven't beaten the balloons map. I will not beat that balloons map. It's not happening. It's true according to Digital Foundry. Digital Foundry did tests of Overwatch benchmarks versus Doom. I'm actually curious. Link me that. The reason I'm not going to beat that, by the way, is because that balloons map chat was disgusting. That one is by far the hardest one, and it's not even close. So it would take me multiple days of grinding it to beat it, and I don't feel like doing that. shits nuts. Balloons TD6 is just a horrible mobile time waster. I know. And I've played it constantly while I wait for Overwatch 2 to launch, but these goddamn motherfucking devs just keep pushing it back another year. So I have another fucking year of balloons ahead of me, chat. And I'm not even mad, actually. Just gives me more time to play balloons. Car Crash. Thank you for 32 months. Another year for us to gamba? Yeah, I guess. DRG new update off stream. Wait, isn't the DRG update tomorrow, chat? I thought it was Thursday. We're playing that tomorrow. Today is Apex at some point. No Vanguard or 2042. Vanguard. Why is that ringing a bell? Is that like, isn't that COD's anti-cheat or something? Or is that just like their actual new game? Dude, I love saying it's like Vanguard. The fuck? It's like, no, that's actually probably Valorant anti-cheat. But yeah, I'm just memeing, dude, because to be honest, I can't. Dude, there's no way I'm going to play Call of Duty, right? Right. I can't imagine getting into a Call of Duty Battle Royale. I don't think I could probably do it. Oh, but as for Battlefield 2042, Battlefield is actually, Vanguard is not a BR though. Yeah, but like, I don't care. Guys, why do we all sit here and pretend like Call of Duty releasing a new game is not just Call of Duty the last game, but for money? It's been doing this for over a decade, right? It's still exactly the same game, but like different. A little bit. They like twist it a little bit for the no-lifers who play Call of Duty. But for anybody who's outside of Call of Duty, it looks like every other Call of Duty. So we're not going to buy it. Which, now I think about it, may be the exact impression that people outside of Overwatch have looking at Overwatch 2. But it is different. I swear. Nothing special. Thank you for 19 months. It is different, I swear. No, it is. Look. They just, man, can I just go over how, like, the ridiculous mental hoops I have to jump through? Okay. First things first. Guys, Overwatch 2 is going to have massive PvE. Okay? I swear. They said they're going to have an end game and all this other stuff, but they just haven't shown us yet, Seagull, but like, or Stream. They just haven't shown it, but it's definitely out there. And, and then that's the first one. The second one, immediately Blizzard at Overwatch League Grand Finals, they hop in and they show off Overwatch 2. They cut out all the new characters and they just show a couple of reworks on the new engine in 5v5. What does the general community respond with? Wow, this thing looks like a money grab. Like, it looks like Overwatch 1, but just 5v5? Like, I don't get it. Meanwhile, Seagull, Guys, I swear, there's a ton of new characters. Blizzard just removed them from the playtest. I swear. Like, I sound like I'm fucking crazy. But Blizzard is just even more crazy. I don't understand. I don't understand how it got this bad. Because I don't even think I'm wrong. Am I the baddie? I don't know. You are crazy? I am not crazy. Listen. They specifically said they did not show any of the new characters and blah, blah, blah. And if you take the new character, listen, I'm sitting over here. I got like the little whiteboard and I'm like charting it out. I'm like, guys, listen, if they release characters at the same rate they did before they started working on Overwatch 2, all the way to Overwatch 2 launch, they should, historically speaking, come up with 10 new characters by now, chat. Listen, chat, it's going to be at least 10 new characters in Overwatch 2. He's overdosing copium. Oh, God, dude. Did we look at the Andy B forum post? Link it again. I want to laugh at it again because other people who are in here have definitely not seen it. and I want to look at it one more time. Not because I want to laugh at anything, just chat will meme about one thing and that's it. You ever see the meme about the guy standing in front of the board with strings all over the place and papers connected by strings? So this is what this sounds like. That's me. I'm running out of strings. It's dude, the timeline's getting too long. I remember hearing this before. Quote, there's no way Cyberpunk can be bad. Look at how good Witcher 3 and its DLC were. Okay, if you go back to me beating Witcher 3, right? I spent literally an entire month playing Witcher and all of the DLC, like 180 hours. I get to the end of that. And I was like, oh my God, you know, I really understand why everybody's really excited for Cyberpunk now. Like, this game was awesome. I remember that, dude. All right, this was the post that people were joking about. You know, it's actually very well written. Like, the community managers on Overwatch, they're both new and they're both very honest and transparent with the community, which is great. News that a game is taking longer is never easy, especially in a place where players have been eagerly anticipating. Have all been a reflection of the frustration a lot of players are feeling today, and that's okay. Blah blah blah. All right, this is the fun part. One rumor to clean up. I'm seeing a lot of folks assuming a launch date in 2023 is rote. Without being pedantic, I want to point out that there was no release date or beta date communicated in yesterday's earnings call. While I'm not prepared to discuss dates with you today, I want to quash the rumor of a 2023 release date as being somehow official. So chat immediately goes, oh my God, it's 2024. That was the immediate response from chat. Just a hardcore trolling. And obviously, you know, they don't have an official release date, right? But when Jason Schreier comes out and says, yeah, they're not releasing in 2022, then that's as close to official as you can get. So, yeah, it's just fuck. It is a silly, silly time. Big Sag. Well, I don't even know how to like appropriately talk about a lot of this stuff because Blizzard makes talking about Overwatch 2 very difficult in that I feel like they're actively trying to shoot themselves in the foot at all times. Right? They go, yeah, we want to have this PV game, a full in-game, and all this other stuff. But we don't want to come out of BlizzCon and tell you that. We're just going to come out into very small interviews post-release, so that, or post-BlizzCon, so that way we don't have to, like, fully commit to it. And yeah, Overwatch 2 is totally not a balance patch, but we're going to show you this Overwatch League gameplay of pros playing Overwatch 2, but take out all the new content. It's dumb. And a very difficult position to be in as someone who actually does want to play the game. Very hard times are ahead. And there's also going to be the frustration in the Overwatch community is never going to go away for a long period of time, just because of how long can you basically shit the bed with what was one of the most hyped up games of that era of 2016. The popularity was disgusting of Overwatch in 2016, 2017, and so on until like 2019, 2020. So yeah, there's a lot to go over, a lot of shit. They really squandered Overwatch in general. Yeah, there's so much wasted potential in that era of PvP Overwatch the game. If they had just in 2018 saw everyone else going free to play and everything and said, you know what, we're going to go also hardcore free to play. We're going to go all out. And then we're going to release constant updates, constant content, and everything else. They would have kept up just fine, but they didn't. And then they went all in on Overwatch 2. Then they got fucked by COVID. And then they got fucked by, whatchamacallit, all the internal issues that they were hiding at the time and all the shit coming out. And then Jeff Kaplan leaving, other executives leaving. And now, of course, they're going to delay. At least they're delaying by a long period of time. That's all I'm going to say. Because that means, hopefully... Well, not hopefully. It means they're actually committed to the game being genuinely good and not just putting the game out the door in a mediocre state to save money. So, hopefully it'll be good. What I'm going to be very interested in is Probably. So this is the big Overwatch release news for now. What I want to know is, when are they gonna start giving any more information? Early next year. And then also, how is the Overwatch League build for Overwatch 2 going to work? And who the fuck's idea was it anyway to have everyone play on a new game that no one else can play for potentially a year until the next game comes out? Is just absurd to begin with. It just means they're stuck in developer hell, not knowing what to actually do with the game. Yeah, that's the tough part about it too. Rice Spare, 22 months. I need a good single player game to play. Do you have any recommendations? Unironically, the new Guardians of the Galaxy game was legitimately good. It was good. Hashtag ad? I wasn't even paid. Ugh. Overwatch League pros playing on early build 5v5 and logging off queuing ranked on Overwatch 1 6v6 lol. Well, I mean, if I was a pro player in that time period, chat, what I would do is actually very simple. It's to get custom game permissions from the devs, which you probably already have because you have the Overwatch 2 build, and then set up in-house 6v6 pro player pugs on the Overwatch 2 build. That's the only way you could probably do it. When are you going to stop getting stun locked? I don't know. We've been talking about this. Wait, how long have we been streaming? Wait, it's been almost 2 hours. Holy fuck. Is there anything else that I need to cover before I go play another game? Like, now that I think about this, because apparently there's this massive new Apex season that I haven't played at all. Sigil, they can't do any pugs. Well, that's an older rule that they couldn't do pro player pugs. I don't know if that's still true. It could be. Who knows? Can we talk about the new Dota hero? Bro, I have not paid attention to Dota in years at this point. Battlefield put out a Specialist trailer if you haven't seen it yet. I enjoyed Battlefield, but the Specialists sound kind of like a meme. I don't know anything about that. I'm genuinely curious, why are you excited for Overwatch 2 if they're not going to update it because they'll be working on Overwatch 3? Because they've said, not only in the investor call, but prior to that, that they're excited to go full live service with Overwatch 2. So Overwatch 2 would be essentially the launch of Overwatch having as much and as many content updates as other competing games. That is what I would expect out of Overwatch 2. Copium? Am I wrong? We'll see. Here he goes again. I'll believe it when it happens. Oh, for sure. I'm more optimistic than most people. Like, to me, I love the fact that Overwatch 2 was delayed because it means that they haven't completely given up on their ambition for a PvE game. To me, if they really just wanted to play Overwatch 2 and just get as much money as possible, they would have just put that shit out the door and called it GG, go next, right? It would have been mediocre and that would have been it. And they would have made their money back and they'd be chilling. But instead, by delaying for a year, it's going to cost them more money and they're actually have a chance to put out a really good game. That's it. It makes me happy. And I think that should also be how most people outside of the Overwatch scene probably look at it. Although most people outside the Overwatch scene are probably just like, what the fuck is this game anyway? So who knows? They are delaying because they don't want to spend money on developers. Stop. That's the opposite of how reality works. You have to pay people. Stop. Did you see the senior community manager for Apex left to work in a new studio? Yeah, that was... that was the head of communications at Respawn left. But also, I think he had only been in that position for about a year to year and a half. I know who you're talking about because he worked at Riot previously. And then a bunch of people at Riot created a new company. And so he's just... That's actually something that you see quite often right now in a lot of different companies. There's a lot of VC money that's flooding gaming. And so a lot of these developers that have been working on traditional AAA IPs, like at Ubisoft, Blizzard, and Riot, VCs walk in, they're like, hey, we'll give you a ton of money if you want to go try building one of your other cool games, and investment so you can actually pull it off. And they go, oh, okay. And they go grab all their friends from everyone around them. And then they leave the company to maybe go produce a game that they've been really passionate about, but that they couldn't actually do previously. So you've seen that a lot. Just go look, for example, chat. If you go and you look how many new studios have been made from companies like that say like, oh yeah, this is like an ex Blizzard game from former Blizzard people who worked on like WoW or Hearthstone or this or that. There's at least 3 of them. There's Frost Giant. Frost Giant, chat, is a company that's made out of former Blizzard developers who used to all make StarCraft and RTS games, and they're all fucking dead. So Blizzard cut resources from that. But all those people really liked RTS games, so they went, why don't we just go make our own company and try and make an RTS game work? So they did that, right? And I think that's really, really cool if they can pull it off. Other examples are a ton of rioters left to go make. I think their company was called Theorycraft, which is turbo nerd shit, so I respect. Dead Monka W. Blizzard hired assassins. No. I mean, you know what I mean? Like RTSs are dead, and so. You go find a ton of companies like that, right? Mike Morhame's Dreamhaven, for example, right? Other ex-Blizzard people leaving, getting new money, and creating their own type of game that they're interested in. There's a lot of old people at every game like that who are interested in trying out different games. That's it. You'll see it also happens it's happening across tons of gaming companies right now. Devices, there for 4 months. What? Stop. She just threw a fish at me. She said, I'm CCing you, and threw a fucking fish at me to get me out of it. What the fuck? I mean, it's only been 2 hours. A fish? Yeah, she grabbed a chew toy. Get fished. Feels good, man. All right, do I dare go play Apex right now? All right, wait. Oh no, wait. I can't. I'm falling for it. How is Overwatch doing different than what Call of Duty? Oh, I gotta resist. I'll be right back. I gotta use the bathroom. I gotta resist. Okay. What am I missing, chat? I'm back. Got some nice waters, dude. Apex now? Maybe.
Look at the size of that thing.
Okay, Vodus, you can stop fast forwarding now.
All right. One last call, chat. The last call. Is there anything about Overwatch 2 that I have not talked about today? What else am I missing? No, stop it. No, I'm just... Another fish is incoming. No, listen. I was merely getting water so I can continue my stun lock. Listen, we're good. What am I looking for? New characters. I actually don't care. Did Overwatch 2 cost us a raid tier?
What is Seagull doing?
New characters, I say I don't actually care about new characters because, well, I care about new characters. I just don't care about theory crafting what they are. Because I hope they come up with some crazy shit. Oh my God. I forgot about that. Well, no, Quag, the Vicarious Visions team was working on Diablo, though.
Brandon.
What?
Launch Apex.
No.
Look at me.
No.
Look at me.
I'm not going to look, but I will launch. I will refuse to be stun locked this long. Oh, fuck. All right. I will move on, I guess. Ah, she's not even there anymore. She just did a drive-by. Ah. Finally stopped being stunlocked. All your friends are playing New World. Also, hi, Tasmo. 40 months. Wait, are you spraying me with water? I'm loading Apex. Stop it. Loading. What the fuck? I'm being actively, like, owned right now. This is toxic as fuck. Yo, my glasses have water on them. Wait, it's fine. I have a...
Look at the size of that thing.
All right.
It
Well,
all makes sense. Release in
Cool.
2023 or later. Facebook is going metaverse, devs are also going in that direction. Imagine metaverse inftape cosmetics being resold. Building own NFT cosmetics and fully
IRL
embracing
grief.
gotcha metaverse. Live service revolution it is.
what? Oh no, what is... Bullied into gaming. Frivolous insults with the 10 gifted, thank you. I had him tenderize. Look, I've moved on from the Overwatch 2 talk chat. It's now that we've loaded a game, we can now discuss everything weird.